Hey, my friends, we've got a longer podcast, as long than I thought it was, all about changing the behaviours, negative behaviours. And it's all up to you. And that's why you're here, isn't it? To be able to do this stuff, not just listen. And then when you do that, you become in charge. You become responsible. You become a cause. You begin to create the world you want to live in. You have that belief. Oh, this is a belief I want to instill in you. I can do that. Okay, let's get it on. And then to remember, I was able to do that. What else is possible? If any of that is of interest to you, listen to the next bit and then dive into the whole episode. Hey, welcome to the Personal Development Unplugged podcast. So pleased you're here. Your time is valuable and precious. So what I would like to do is fill that time that you share with me with the most shiny golden nuggets to help improve your life, to get your goals, your wishes, your dreams to come to fruition quicker, bigger, better than you could ever imagine, using your imagination, using hypnosis, using NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, all of that, using all things of the mind. No brain hacks, but real solid processes to deconstruct what people do to become great. And then find the processes that we can install that in ourselves to support you in your dreams and get what you really want in life. Anyway, who am I? I'm Paul Clough, and just going to have conversations with you in this podcast and get you thinking, but also share those processes because we're going to have so much fun. That's it. We're going to have fun for a change because we can sit down for a spell and have more fun than we can stand, creating the world we want to live in and be the person we want to be in that world. The only limitation is your imagination. And you got bucket loads, by the way, bucket loads. Have a listen. You really must.
This is Personal Development Unplugged with Paul Clough.
In simplicity, there is genius.
In simplicity, there is genius.
Hey, my friend, we're back for... I think this is going to be a two-parter, you know. I really do. But maybe I'm wrong. Here's a thing. A story. A true story. And it was a client I had. Well, it was in my early days of being a therapist of things. And it was such a revelation to me. How... Well, let me tell you the story. There I was sitting in my office, and this lady had come in, and she was very red. I thought she was just cold, but it wasn't. Because I said, why are you here? And she said, can you not see? Okay. Observation, Paul. Very red in the face. Are you cold? Are you hot? Are you having hot flushes? She said, no, this is me blushing. I blush all the bloody time, Paul. And she says, the thing is, I am really, really, really good in my job. I really am. The people I work with, I know I'm better than them. I can do the job better. But the problem is, they won't let me run a meeting. Why, if you're that much better? She says, because of this blushing. Everyone notices me, and it embarrasses them, and I get embarrassed, so I blush. And guess what? They even blush sometimes. She said they won't even ask me to just take minutes, sit in the corner and take minutes of that meeting. Because they might just say, oh, can you just repeat that, make sure we've got it? And I start blushing again, and that makes me embarrassed, and everything just goes. Hate it. That's a bad place to be, isn't it? And you're never going to guess how simple it was. Because, see, I'll finish it off later, don't worry. There's things called, or in NLP, we have things called presuppositions. They're just useful assumptions. But to me, they're like my little gold dust, my little golden nuggets that I do live by. Certainly as much as I can, but certainly in the therapy room, they are always in the back of my mind without me thinking. And it always comes back to not all of them, but one of them is so big. It says every behavior has a positive intention. Now, that takes some getting used to, doesn't it? Every behavior has a positive intention, Paul. Oh, there are some horrible things that go in the world. There really is some horrible things. And people are doing them. And they're their behaviors. And they are horrible behaviors. But the thing is, when you forget the horribleness of it, just for a second, because we're not endorsing any horribleness, but for that particular person, it's probably positive to them in some way. Maybe they're protecting they think they're protecting their honor. Maybe they think they're protecting their home. Maybe they think they're trying to do something. And I get that part. Don't like, it has a positive intention for them, but that doesn't mean they maybe should have chosen better. Well, of course they should. There's better ways. But the thing is, that behavior was probably born out a long time ago. And when their unconscious mind chose to react in that particular way at that particular event, it did it with all the positive intention to protect them in some way. And it did it with the little wisdom that it had, the little experience that it had. We've talked about this before. And it made a choice. And it probably worked. Well, it did work. To what degree, I don't know, but obviously enough for their unconscious mind to say, this program, this process does protect them. Maybe it protects them from feeling hurt. Maybe it protects them from feeling embarrassed. Maybe it protects them from jealousy, guilt, all that stuff, all these little things that we come up with. And it creates this process to protect us. But what it doesn't do is go, well, as I get bigger, as I go through more life experiences that I can learn from, as I learn, as I get more wisdom, I can adapt this process to make it the best process right now every time, continually adapting them. That's the problem. It doesn't. It just says, I've just got to do it more. So that old feeling to stop you doing stuff from maybe a little bit of, turns to a little bit more of anxiety. And then it turns into, because anxiety is not working for you because you're still doing it. Well, not you personally, but this will resonate. I know it will, because it resonates with me, resonates with every client, and every client who tells me this resonates with them because they go, yeah, that's right. And every time, the older we get, the more intense that feeling gets. And sometimes it goes from like a little bit to a little bit of anxiety, to a lot of anxiety, to fear, to panic attacks, to full blown, can't do it. Or it could be, we just get that little bit of guilt. And that little bit of guilt says, do you know what? I shouldn't have done that. But then I do something similar. So I'll get more guilt to stop me doing it. And then I start to feel guilty all the time, which makes me feel maybe I'm not good enough. And that not good enough gets me more anxious. And you can see how it all builds up. But right at the very beginning, it had that positive intention and was the only thing they could do. It's now just got a little bit out of control. I tell you, here's an example how things get out of control. I'll finish the other story off in a minute, but here's another one. I was working with this lovely young lady. I don't know, she was probably very late teens, early 20s. And she wanted to travel the world. And traveling the world meant having injections, for all diseases, things like that. And she also thought, well, I'll probably need to have some type of injections if I want to have a family. So I really have to get rid of this blooming phobia of having an injection. And she said, it really is quite bad, Paul, because I just can't go to the doctors now. I can't do anything. And to be honest, there are things there that I might need. Well, certainly if I go traveling, I really do need. And I really want to go traveling. And you see, she said, and I also know when it started, because my mum told me. Warning sign, a little red flag comes up because mum don't know. Mums know, but they don't know everything. And she said, mum remembers me panicking when I was at school as a young teenage girl. We had to have that, is it mumps and rubella? Whatever it is, we had it. And I freaked out. And that was mum saying that was when it all happened. Well, you see, it isn't, because that was probably the most significant event from a chain of events that led to that event. And we did a little bit of work. And we asked the unconscious mind, what is we know there's some type of protection, but the protection's gone haywire, isn't it? How can this be positive? And it was like a little memory just popped into her mind. She says, oh, Paul, you will not believe what I've just thought of. I think it's true as well. I might have to check it out. I think it's true. She said, when I was about, I don't know, she said I was about 6 or 7, and I was in hospital, and I was sitting in this bit with all the curtains around you. You've seen it on telly. Oh, wait, maybe you've been to hospital. You've got the curtains around you. She said, I'm sitting on this bed, and I was really interested. And she was talking. She said, I saw this man. The nurse, they were going to give me this injection. I was so interested. I was watching it. Now, you can tell there's no phobia now. Well, the thing is, she's looking at her old self, a younger you, the younger self, through her eyes now. So she's dissociated. She's got like a meta view. And she said, I was so interested. And I saw that needle just as it started to go into my skin. She said, next door was a little boy and he was having grommets fitted in his ears. And just as I saw that needle enter my skin, he screamed the house down. And I went, wah! And it was like the unconscious mind went, shock, didn't like it, frightened. Put 2 together. Needle, shock, didn't like it. I'm going to protect you from those needles. Good intention, isn't it? Well, the intention's good to protect you from the needles, but the needles can protect you. But then when we looked at it, so well, actually, the needles, you don't need protecting from the needles because it was a shout and the shock put together. And it was like the domino just tipped over and it started its little rally. And it was a bit like, well, I got it wrong. I've been trying my best. It's like the unconscious mind. Try my best. I wonder is there a better way that I can protect you? Yeah. Allow her to be comfortable when she needs an injection. Needs it for her health. Needs it for when she travels. Needs it when she has, for children and things like that. And it was a tiny little process, a little bit of hypnosis to get her unconscious mind to say, how can I make it comfortable and make sure it's all right? Now, isn't that weird? But this young lady knew it was a particular time which was wrong, but the unconscious mind came up trumps for us. And that was it. That was the one session. So I do believe, and I do follow that presupposition, every behavior has a positive intention. Sometimes it's not, the intention's good, but the behavior that your unconscious mind has adopted and adapted is no longer useful, no longer serves its purpose. But I do think intention is we should have intention. Well, we do. We do have intention on everything, but we don't always realize it. And Jordan Peterson, bless him, I love that guy to bits. He said something that really resonated with me. I think it was in his book, The 12 Rules. He said, the foundation of everything is intention. And when you understand that intention, then we can start finding the right behaviors that allow that intention to come and bear fruit. Someone might say, well, why would you do something without intention? Because I would say you do, but you just don't realize it. But have you ever, I'll say that again because my words got wrong. Have you ever said this to somebody? Or have you ever heard this from somebody else's lips? And they do something that didn't work out and they go, oh, I didn't intend for that to happen. But you have to say, well, you must have thought something was going to happen. Something would happen because you had intended to do something and then the behavior came in and it wasn't the right behavior, but the intention was probably good. It's like when we try to carry this is a silly metaphor, silly story, is when we try to carry too much stuff because we try to save time, we're trying to do a good job, and we carry so much stuff and we drop it and we break it and we spend twice as long clearing it all up. And we've also got broken plates. And we've also got someone jabbering into our ear, why did you do that? And you go, well, I didn't intend that to happen. Now, you didn't intend to, but you had an intention. But the result was that silly behavior. So the problem is we don't always consider what our intention is, though. Because like that one was like an unconscious. It's only when we think back, we can realize we did have an intention. You see, even this, I'm trying to get into intention a lot more now, because I thought to myself, okay, Cluffy, if everything has a positive intention, and to get it clear, maybe the better ways to be is, and a good behavior to have, as it were, is to think of your intention first. So I had to think, why the hell am I doing this episode? What is my intention? And it's so many different parts of that intention when I thought about it. And I thought, well, one of the things is, it's just to make a difference. And you go, yeah, Paul, yeah, that's pretty good. But the thing is, it makes a difference to me too. And I think that was one of the main ones, to make a difference to me, to remind me of what I don't always do. But when I do it, I get better results. I know I always set an intention when I'm working with a client. I actually say it out loud before they come in the room. I say and I state my intention of what I want to do, how I want to be, and the result I want to get. And I'm thinking, well, you do it for that, Cluffy, but you don't do it for everyone or everything you do. So here's a reason why I'm doing this, because we always say, when you share things, and I'll talk about sharing later, but when you share things by explaining what you've learned, you get to learn it better. And I get to think, well, I know this stuff. How can I now put it into place, into practice? Oh, I've done something for me. And the other thing is for you. I have an intention for you to share what I know, and hopefully to get you curious. And I said, how do I want you to feel? I thought about that. How do I want you to feel when you listen to this? And it was, oh, I can do that. Okay, then. Now, that's a positive belief, isn't it? Okay, I can do that. Okay. And when you do that, what do? You actually become in charge of your actions, your behaviors. You actually become responsible for what you're doing, what you're thinking. And you actually then become at cause. You're causing, they say you create your own reality, and people go, oh, it's woo-woo la-la. But when you become at cause and you start to understand your intention, you take responsibility, you do create the world around you with what you do. And you see, when you do that, and when you do consider this, if you do, I know you will, you'll make a difference to the world. You'll make a difference for the world, which makes a difference for me again. This is what I want to live in too. Maybe you'll send me a little bit of feedback. That'll make a difference to me, because it makes me feel so good when clients go, oh, what an awesome session, Paul. I feel so good. So, and when I get a little bit of feedback from feedback@personaldevelopmentunplugged.com, when I get an email saying this, I go, wow, that intention worked. So that's what I want to do. I want to share this to you. But the thing is, I had to think about that consciously. I really did. Because obviously I'm doing a podcast episode about behaviors and intentions. So I thought, well, I better think about it. But the thing is, you could go, oh, Cluffy. You could say that. I do to myself. And this is a bit I actually thought to myself, if I did that consciously with every bloody behavior, everything I want to do, every bit of action that I want to do, I'd implode. I'd be overwhelmed. And that overwhelm would lead to all sorts of things. And I wouldn't get anything done, would I? Because I'd be thinking, because it's conscious thought. But the thing is, you're right. I'm right when I wrote that down. Because every behavior has a positive intention, and that positive intention is created on the inside. It's an unconscious. You have the unconscious process anyway. So we don't have to make a process. It's already there. All we have to do is I try to do in all my therapy sessions, is say, well, it's a skill. You've got this wonderful skill of having a process of your unconscious mind has a positive intention to protect you in some way and let you have a most comfortable, wonderful life. Unfortunately, in this particular instance, it ain't working. Do you like the word ain't? I don't. It isn't working. But keep the process, keep the intention, and change the behavior. And that's all I do when I'm talking to a client with their issues. We identify the behavior they want to change. Because I'll always say, why are you here? What do you want? How do you want to be different? Now, behavior to me can be literally your behaviors, the things you do with your physicality and that. But I always think behaviors are always linked with emotions. So a behavior you want to get rid of could be anxiety, which comes in the form of maybe panic attacks, overthinking. So that's the behavior you latch onto, but it's also, I believe, anxiety is one layer below, and it's part of that behavior. Fear, unconfidence, if that's a word, lack of confidence. I like unconfidence a lot better. OCD, guilt, jealousy. You go on forever and ever and ever, fill in the blank. They are all behaviors, and each one will have a positive intention. And you see, you normally find that intention is directly opposite to how you want to feel. Your unconscious mind is trying to protect you from being jealous, but it makes you jealous. Because once you have a great relationship, positive intention, I want to have a great relationship. But just in case, I want to make you jealous to really think about that. And then you think about it too much. What a lovely intention, though, to have a wonderful relationship. I want to be able to perform in front of people. Well, just in case, you go wrong and you feel terrible in front of people, because we did once a long time ago. I've got a positive intention. I want to protect you from that feeling. So I'm going to give you a bit of fear now and anxiety, performance anxiety, to make sure you get it right. So you practice and practice and practice. But the more you practice, this was so difficult, or can be, because you start making mistakes because of that anxiety. Wouldn't it be better if you were, and I've done this with clients with their performance anxiety, is just to change it, to say, well, if you want to protect me and keep me safe, wouldn't it be better that I could be comfortable and have access to all my skills? Because when I do that, I'd be in my element, I'd be the real me, and I'd be the safest I can be. So we've kept the intention. Keep you safe. We've just changed the behavior and changed the skills, but also the emotions around that. So we keep the intention and change the behavior. And when we get behaviors that are positive and align with that positive intention, you will notice, and my clients do, they go, that would be awesome if I could have that, because I'd feel so good and life would be so much richer and everything would be better. And it's like knocking. I can't knock on anything. I'll knock, 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 or knock on your head. It's like you telling your unconscious mind, you want the right thing, you're going about it the wrong way. Let's find somewhere better. And that's we just do a little hypnosis process and boom. You see, what was the intention for that? I'll tell you another one. I'll tell you another little one. A spider phobia. That wasn't. Well, it was a phobia for spiders. And this, again, a lady come along, she said, I'm terrified of spiders and I live in the bloody country now. And she didn't swear. And she said, and where I work, and it was, you could picture it. She said, I have to go down this corridor and I know there's a gigantic spider that lives just in the little corner above the doorway. And I have to unlock that doorway and run through it because it's just in case it's going to get me, because it's huge. Huge, like an inch, 2 centimeters. And she said, I know when it all started, because when I was about 8, this bloody kid, she swore there, this bloody kid chased me with a spider. But it wasn't it. Because there's a safety thing there, isn't it? Being frightened, don't want to be frightened anymore. But it wasn't anything to do with that. The reason she was frightened about a spider, because she'd already got this process at an unconscious level to protect her from spiders. Why and how? Because it came as a little memory. And she said, oh, I can remember, Paul. I know this has got nothing to do with it, she said. And I thought as soon as I heard that, I knew it had something to do with it, because why would it come up from the unconscious mind? She said, I was really, really, really little. I don't know, 3 or 4. And you don't normally remember things when you're that young. But she said, I remember this quite vividly. You see, my granddad, he was in a cottage. And it was like, they did have an upstairs. And I saw him come down those stairs. and he was white as a sheet and shaking. And I said, Grandad, what's the matter? And he said, oh, I've seen a spider. And they were frightened. And he was my big, strong superhero. And you could see the unconscious mind going, at that age, with the wisdom they had, the experiences they had, well, if my big superhero Grandad is frightened of a spider, guess what? So am I. And my unconscious mind, or her unconscious mind, said, and I'll protect you from that forever and ever. So I'll get you to think about spiders. I'll get you to, everything and everything. But then we said, well, actually, that was Grandad. I wonder where he got his phobia from. And in fact, you got it by just watching somebody. You never actually saw a bloody spider. And intellectually, she knew that spiders, certainly in the UK here, they mean you no harm. And she said, well, yeah. So how would you like to be? Well, I'd just like to be okay around them. I don't really want to pick them up. You don't have to. But I'd like to be okay around them. Because, to be honest, I'm dangerous when I see one. Because I have this flip-out panic attack. You've seen people with bees and that. They suddenly get up and run and run and run. I said, I'm just like that. So I'm a danger to myself because I bump into things, fall over things, and I bump into other people. So wouldn't it be easy if I just walked by comfortably? Little process. Kept the intention. So we're always going to be a little bit wary, just in case, because we might go abroad and, if you go to Australia and places like that, they do have spiders that are not the best to be around. So we can be careful. Boom. We've talked about that positive intention around the needle phobia. Because it wasn't anything to do with needles. It was just connection. Now, going back to that story about the blushing. What could be a positive intention about blushing? Because it was making her life hell. She wasn't getting noticed for the work that she'd done. She'd got so good at her job. She had tried so very hard to learn and be the best she could in that job. And she was succeeding. Apart from she wasn't able to show her talents. And if she showed her talents and showed everyone how good she was, she knew she was going to feel good. And she said, I can do the work, Paul. I got no doubt about that. And as we're talking, again, these ones, and it doesn't happen this way all the time, but these experiences I'm telling you about do. She said, oh, I can remember, Paul, when I was about 4. It always happens when it's little, and it's not big, and it's not traumatic. And she said, it was my birthday party, and guess what? No one was taking any notice of me. They were all doing their stuff. I can remember sitting there alone, and no one was taking notice. And then I started to blush. And everyone started taking notice of me. And I said, well, can I just rewind to when you first come through the door? You said you want to be noticed. You want to be noticed for your skills. Well, actually, you want to be noticed. And you are being noticed. Your unconscious mind is doing exactly what you wanted to be noticed. But it hasn't changed that bloody behavior of blushing. Because now the blushing is actually getting you noticed for the wrong reason. And in fact, you've got so many better reasons to be noticed that would make your life so much better. Richer in every way. In experience, financially, healthily, everything. Because you used to worry about things that don't help. And again, very small process to get the unconscious mind, first of all, to learn from that first event, because it's the learning is what really gets us, and allow us to move on. And then find a better way and keep the intention. So, what I'm going to say, though, is these people came and saw me because it was big stuff. And it was big stuff to them. But it went very quickly, because big stuff goes quickly too. Doesn't matter how long you've had it, still goes very quickly. So, if you've got big stuff and you really feel that you need help, you know what I'm going to say? Go and find that help on a one-to-one basis. Go and find, my experiences and what I'm brought up on and what I've learned is always getting a bloody good NLP, hypnotist who does timeline therapy. And if they're good at all those three and they do things really quickly and help people, that's the person you want to find. That's the way I was brought up and that's the way I work. So if you've got something really big or you think is really big and you want to get it done, go and do it. Go and find someone, a therapist, And they're going to help. Because I have to keep saying this every time. I'm a therapist, but not your therapist. Could be if you wanted, but that's something else. I'm not pushing that at all. But even so, this will probably help. Well, it will help you. Even if it's big stuff, it will help you. And any smaller things you want to do and want to change, this will certainly help you. So if you've got big stuff, start with the smaller stuff. So you get to understand the process. And then sometimes what happens is the big stuff suddenly becomes, ain't so big anymore. Sometimes when you do this, it just disappears. I've got another story about that, but I've given you enough stories. You see, this is the how. This is the how. So I always want to leave you with a good how. And this is going to be a two-part, and I'll explain the two-parter in a minute. You see, first of all, we know there's a positive intention with every way you feel or the way you react. If you're doing things positively, if you're doing things negatively, or feeling negative or you're feeling positive, there's always a positive intention behind every behavior. Every behavior has a positive intention. NLP presuppositions, things that sticks in my head. I really believe that. And generally, if not always, but generally, I'll say generally, but always generally, the intention is around safety, to keep you safe, keep you comfortable, and keep you healthy. Because that's what the prime directive of the unconscious mind is, to keep you safe and keep you healthy. It's why it heals itself, why it does all this bonky stuff sometimes, but doing it with the best intention. And the thing is, if you want to change something, try to get as specific as you can. So identify the thing specifically. Now that could be as simple, because you think, Paul, how am I going to identify so specific, get into specificity, because it's a lovely word. One way to do it is, I know the issue, I know the issue I want to do, but specifically, just notice the emotion that you get when you think about it. Now, for goodness sake, when we're going through this type of thing, do not do anything which is greater than 5 out of 10. 10 being the worst it can get, 0 being it's gone. Nothing more than 5 out of 10. Because we need to learn the process. And that's why I say this will help if you're going to one-to-one, because once you start to learn these type of processes on small changes, when you do go and see a therapist, your unconscious mind it's already learned the process. So notice that negative emotion, because it will be negative, because it's something you want to get rid of because you know it's not feeling good. Not feeling good, negative emotion. And just notice where it is in your body. Just notice where it is in your body. Don't do anything with it. You don't make it bigger. You don't try to compress it. You don't try to hide it. Just acknowledge it, okay? As I think about it now, I can feel it. And there you are. You're right here. And put your hand on it if you want. Hand on your body where it is. I've just put my hand just above my heart, because sometimes that's where I get some of my feelings. And I sit with it just for a moment. And as I sit with it, I can say, if you wanted to, thank you. I know you're trying to do something positive for me. I know you are. You might even tell me the intention. How more specifically around safety is it? But you'll probably get that anyway. When you think of the issue you want to do and you're not doing, it's probably around protecting you in some way. And then you go, okay, in this feeling, what belief do I have about myself when I'm in this situation and when I have this feeling? Now, something will come to mind. And write it down if you could. Because if you write it down, you can look at it, read it again, come back to it. You might be disturbed, and then you can come back and you go, yeah, that's what I was thinking about. And it will be beginning with I. I can't, or I am, or I'm not. Something like that. But begins with I, because it'll be, it's a belief around your identity. It'll be a limiting belief at the identity level. And it's something, and then you get things like, I'm not good enough. I don't belong here. I'm stupid. And then you go, okay, now I've got that belief. I understand. See, when I have a belief like this, you will try, the protection is that it'll stop me either doing stuff, or it will try to get me to do that stuff the best I can, prepare the best I can. Everyone I know has that type of belief of I'm not good enough and things like that. Tend to be for bloody perfectionists. They have to get everything 100% right before they do it or they don't do it at all. What a wonderful way to protect them. Because they'll either be super right or they won't do it, therefore they won't get that criticism or whatever. But the thing is, the overwhelm, the anxiety that goes with it generally means it's so bloody difficult. Just like the lady with the blushing. What would it be like if I could use all my skills? I'd be recognized for my skills. That's what we change it to, by the way. Be recognized by how good I am. Because when I'm feeling good and I'm showing my skills off, I feel bloody good. I feel safe. I feel comfortable because I'm in control. I'm accessing all my skills, not that bloody fear, that blushing. Because that was her better way. Because this is the second part. Once I understand that negative belief and I can see what you're doing for me. Part 2 of this is, what would be a better way? And keep that intention. You have to keep that intention. So what would be a better way to keep me safe? What would be a better way to get noticed? What would be a better way to act around spiders? What would be a better way to have injections? What would be a better way to be more confident? What would be a better way to not feel guilty? To have fear, to all that stuff. What would be a better way? Now you think, oh, well, okay, that's a bit difficult, Cluffy. That's a bit difficult. No, it isn't. Because it's new. It's new to you. So what would be a better way? Well, it's so simple. And it's hiding in plain bloody sight. You see, what I want you to do is, and you need that pen and paper, I want you to think of some counterexamples. What are they, Cluffy? A counterexample is when you have been doing things similar to you're having the issue with, but you have smashed it out of the park. But it doesn't have to be in the same context. So if it was about confidence, when have you been the most competently confident? You did something, you were confident around it because you had that good intention and you did it well. Yes, it could have been difficult. You had to really dive into all your skills. You had to learn stuff, but you stuck to it and you did it and it was a great success. So you remember it. You write it down, 2 lines to say, yeah, this is what I did right back then. And the reason you do that is because you're looking at the memory. You're trying to translate that memory into words, which is words in your head coming out and words into the paper. And then you're having to read those words to look at the words in your mind to look at the picture. So you're doing it in so many different modalities. You're really getting it. And then you think of, when was another time? Oh, I can remember when I did this for somebody and that was really kind, but it was also good and I felt confident or whatever it was. Didn't have any fear. I was really felt comfortable. So in other ways would you comfortable? And you write that down. And you do 3, 4. That's all. But the thing is, it's good fun because you're thinking of stuff where you were not the issue. In fact, you were completely opposite. Hence, counter examples. And you visualize it and you see it. And then you go, okay, what belief must I have had when I was doing that? And it would be things like, sometimes it's, I'm good enough, but it's not, I've got this. I'm okay. This is fun. This is going to create great things. I'm helping, whatever it is. Even if you don't get it from the inside, you just imagine what belief must I have had. And you write that bloody thing down. So now we've got better ways, counterexamples, and we've got the belief that must have gone with it. And then you just see yourself doing it again. And just say to your unconscious mind, I love your intention. How can I get this, or keep the intention, but get it a better way and feel comfortable, like the counterexamples? Finish off with the immortal words, this or something better. I actually found out where they came from. I read that years and years and years ago from a lovely lady called Shakti Gawain. If you find one of her old books on visualization, they were awesome. Shakti Gawain. But this or something better. So as you do that, and every day, what I would do is just for 5 minutes in a day, just look at those counterexamples, feel it again, think about that belief and say this or something better. How? And then just ask your unconscious mind. Thank you for doing what you did. Doesn't work. How can we get this a better way? And then you visualize it. There you go. Simple as that. I mean, you could do one now if you wanted to. Just think, just for a moment. We won't go through the emotional belief because I'm not with you, but you can do this yourself when you've got better time. But if you wanted to find one counterexample, think of your issue, the thing that you want to do because it's stopping you doing it. So, just for example, say you had to speak up at a meeting. Let's take that as an example. I want to speak at the meeting, but I've got all this anxiety because of preparation. I'm overwhelmed and I'm pulling back and I don't put myself forward anymore. And I don't feel good enough. And I feel an imposter and all that stuff. And you go, okay, when didn't I feel like an imposter in my past? When did I feel part of something and it was such a good experience? So think of your issue. Think of what you would like to do. And then just go back through your memories, for the positive counterexamples, when you were doing something similar and felt the way you just know you'd be more comfortable if that was to happen this way. And just spend some time now, just thinking, when have there been times in my life, just one time at the moment, one specific time, when I felt the way I want to feel instead of the old way. And as you do that, go back there to that good time. See what you saw then. Hear what you heard. And feel that good feeling how comfortable it was, feeling how safe you felt, and the success that came with it. Just notice, what belief must I have had right now? And as you do that, just ask your unconscious mind, what would it be like to be able to keep this positive intention and feel comfortable by finding a better way? Maybe something like this, or something better. And feel it. And then just let it go. Let it go into the multiverse, the universe. Now, we did that really quickly. 30 seconds probably. But what would happen? Imagine this. What would happen if you did that? Say, I don't know, 5 minutes a day. As much as that, Cluffy? Well, I think we could manage 5 minutes a day. Maybe when we're just being quiet with a cup of tea, cup of coffee, gin and tea, that type of thing, or a beer or whatever, a glass of wine. When everything's quiet and we just say, I've got 5 minutes. And I close my eyes and think of a counterexample and really feel it. The whole thing about this is seeing what you saw, hearing what you heard, and then feeling this wonderful way of being. And saying to your unconscious mind, when you feel it and you saw the result and you feel the result, say, maybe this would be a better way. Keep the intention, this or something better. And just notice, after a time, you do that a few days, notice what happens. Now, I hope you enjoyed all that. Now, see, this is all dealing with the stuff in the past. And if you want more and more specific ways of dealing with this, you've got to get in touch. It's that feedback@personaldevelopmentunplugged.com is the email. Just give me a little brief description. And if I need a bit more, I can come back to you. But, and we can do an episode around it. And this is all dealing with the past and setting a direction of what you want. But I wanted to take that a bit deeper. And we've been here for some time. So I think the part 2 will be using this type of thing and this process of understanding every behavior has a positive intention. We want to find a better behavior. But how can we do this in the now and the future? By setting our intention. Because I said, we all started from here our unconscious mind does this process anyway. And if we thought about trying to set our intention consciously on everything we do, it's going to be a mind-blowing experience. We don't want that. So a second part of this will be, how can we get to setting positive intentions of what we want consciously as an unconscious process? Make it a habit, an unconscious habit. So when we do things, we check quickly. Why are we doing this? What is our intention? What do we want? And other things. I'm not going to tell you what they are yet, because you've got to wait. Because you've got to do this first, if you want to, because it works. Because the whole point about this is, and we've talked forever and a day, if you enjoyed this and you just listen to it and you go, there, I know all that. Well, if you know all that and you still got a few issues, well, hey ho, knowing it is not doing it. And that is, just to know it makes no sense whatsoever. To me anyway. But knowing it and then putting it into practice. Because practice makes perfect. No, it bloody doesn't, Cluffy. Practice makes permanent. So you do good practice. You're practicing the good stuff. You're practicing the bad stuff every other time. So let's practice good stuff. And when we do that, it will outweigh the old stuff. And that's what I want you to do. So put this into action. So just work with a couple of small behaviors you'd like to change. Small, and when I say behaviors, they could be in a context where you don't feel good. And it's only a 5 out of 10, but I want to change it. Use this process and get used to it, because what I do know is your unconscious mind will go, do you know that old Cluffy's got something? That's how it speaks, by the way. It will speak to you, to itself. So that Cluffy's got something here. And they've gone through these few memories and these good feelings, and that it does warrant changing because they've kept the intention. They want to change into better behaviors, and I can do that. But then unconsciously, it will look at other issues you've had in the past and go, well, let's change those too. We've got the process. And that's what happens. It's like when you have a problem, it starts small and generalizes into all different contexts of your life. So I used to be frightened about one thing, now I'm frightened about every bloody thing. Well, when you change that one little thing and you get confident or comfortable in that one thing with the right behaviors, your unconscious mind goes, oh, I'll generalize all the good stuff too. So where you were having problems in one, the problems disappear in every area. But you deal with that specific one. That's why we go identify specifically. Notice that emotion. So do it. That's basically, I went a long way around the hills, over the mountains, down the path, just to say, practice it. Do it. And do it with intention. What's your intention for doing this? Because I want to change the behavior and I want to keep the intention. State that out loud and then do the process. And let me know how you get on. That's all I want. Just want to know how you get on. And if you would, share this with other people. If you can share the process by telling them verbally, you'll get to know the bits you understood and the bits you maybe weren't quite as clear, but you thought you did, but now you can go back and really get it all belt and braces and get it just the way you want it. So share it auditory, verbally, but also just share the Personal Development Unplugged podcast, this episode and all the rest, if you would, because it'll make a difference. It'll make a difference to you, it'll make a difference to me, and it'll make a difference to them and the whole wide world. Let's help everybody by sharing stuff. Have fun. If this is still December, no, it isn't going to be December. If it was in December, you'd have had a lovely discount on Supreme Inner Confidence. Still get a good discount by putting in the code. I think it's about 60% on the code. In Christmas, it was way down. Anyway, please do that. Please enjoy. Please create the life you want, because then you create the reality you want to live in. It's going to be a beautiful reality, and I want to share it with you. That's all about sharing, isn't it? And I've learned from this as well. So enjoy every heartbeat, and have more fun than you can stand. Because, as usual, it's now time to fly.
Warning, you are now leaving the unplugged mind of Paul Clough. It's time to fly on your own. Be brave, my friend.
Personal Development Unplugged.